Good evening. Thank you all for coming this evening. Thank you to those of you who are watching via the live stream. This is the Drew University Music Department Capstone Festival. My name is Trevor Weston. I'm chair of the music department. The Capstone is a course that really supposed to be the culmination of all of the students who are majoring in music, all of their learning through the 4 years here at Drew. In this course, they had to read about music, kind of philosophical aesthetics of music. They had to reflect on how music affected them, how music helped them study other things, and really how music was part of their change. So the way the Capstone Festival has been organized lately, I've encouraged students to combine as many things as they find interesting, or really kind of start that journey of celebrating their unique view of the world and how they see music in it. So tonight you'll see 5 different approaches to music, ways that each student kind of approaches music from a different way, and they combine music with other elements, other forms of art, and to me, that is hopefully the success of a 4-year education in college or university. By the end, you're really kind of starting to see what you are going to contribute to the world, and these capstone presentations are part of that kind of new journey. We're going to begin with our first senior, Nate Aaliyah. Please come to the stage.
Hello there, everybody. My name's Nate Aaliyah. I am a singer and a composer, and this presentation today will be about my senior recital, The Best of Both Worlds. So kicking things off, just a little bit of an outline of how things are set up for this. We'll be going over the concept, selecting a set, the rehearsal process, the first half of the recital, which was art songs and arias and more of a solo vocalist arrangement. And then the second half is comprised of my arrangements for the a cappella group 36 Madison Avenue, and basically the performances of that with more contemporary works. So the concept, with the little poster next to it, is I basically wanted to make an event that represented my musical experience at Drew, both in classes with vocal lessons and my composition courses, as well as my time at Madav outside of class. You know, I spent 6 hours a week, every week since the first semester of sophomore year with Madav, and I really wanted to make sure that I was combining my passion for both of those elements of my musical experience here. This especially became a major part of my vision for my capstone when I had become music director last spring, and I was responsible for arranging works for Madav, so I figured this kind of bridged both worlds of my musical experience, and that I could kind of make the best of both worlds. So moving on to the song selection, in the first half, I have Gentle Airs Melodious Strains by George Friedrich Handel. And this one was more of a classical piece, gives sort of the classic aria vibe and a lot of runs and classical vocal performance, whereas Only the Wanderer, Ditty, and In Years to Face are by Finzi, and those ones are more of a 20th century contemporary art song based on poems, and they still comprise of some vocal technique, but they have a little bit more of a contemporary feel. And then lastly, we have Simple Song and Candide's Lament from Leonard Bernstein. These are musical theater pieces made for dramatic tenors such as myself, and I sort of wanted to make a progression both chronologically and in terms of stylistic progress between each of these composers. So I figured this would be a great way to sum this together. And they're also comprised of different eras within my vocal lessons throughout from sophomore year to this semester. In the second half, we have The Rising, 16 Tons, The Bidding, Winnebago Baby, and If I Were to Write This Song. The Rising is actually composed by Ross Michaels, an alum of 36 Madison Avenue, and I would actually just I sang it for the first time in the fall this year. The rest are all compositions that I've personally made, and they range from my first arrangement being 16 Tons to my last arrangement as of the recital, which was my senior solo for the group, If I Were to Write This Song by Cartel. These songs basically also form, in a smaller window, a range of chronological stylistic progression, with The Rising being just a general rock song, while the rest of them are basically going from the 50s to current day in the 21st century. So the rehearsal process for the first half, prior to deciding on the recital set, I had to sort of think about how I would realistically arrange something to work out to perform for an hour straight. So I had to think of range, I had to think of basically the marathon of doing it all. And the best way to do that, I figured, was to sing songs that I was already comfortable with, that I was familiar with. And it ended up being a very cozy experience, I guess, preparing for that. Whereas the second half, it was mostly about keeping in mind the composition of my a cappella group and making sure that the learning process was not too cumbersome in light of us also having a concert at the same time. So it was a fun little balancing act of a sort. So starting lessons with the recital in mind was really, really helpful for this semester, because Professor Stenzel and I worked on all of the Finzi pieces with the idea that this would be for a recital. And that ended up being great, because then we could just end up running the entire set after those three pieces were set. And then after that, about a week before the concert, we started rehearsing regularly with accompaniment from Professor Iskowitz. Very, very kind man. I threw a lot of music at him, and he was able to accompany through so much. And Professor Sprout as well, on the cello for the Handel piece, was enormously helpful. And then with Matt Ave, it was just kind of running the set as we had known it. And Concert Week and mic check, kind of the usual kind of thing. We ended up just running the songs, and it ended up working out well. It more or less ended up the same way that we performed it. So the rehearsal process for the second half, bringing it up to Matt Ave, I had to just kind of check with everyone. And then we ended up sort of dedicating half of the rehearsals, because we rehearse 2 hours a day for 3 days a week. And the latter half of the rehearsal every week from the beginning of March was dedicated to this recital. And then we had to account for conflicts and cancellations. There's a lot of stuff that happens. A lot of the group is a part of the theater department, and with that, there's shows that they're included in, and there's other conflicts outside of school that, life just gets in the way sometimes. So there was a few little turnarounds there and a few unexpected twists and turns, but I think it all worked out well that way. And then the final adjustments was mostly just running the set a couple more times before the performance, and it all worked out. So here I have the first half and just two quick songs. The first half was comprised of these three composers. I think all of these went really well, and they all had a very distinct stylistic contrast from one another. But I certainly find that my favorite part was singing the Bernstein, the musical theater, which I'll show for you guys. So that there was a simple song from Leonard Bernstein's Mass, and that provides a little bit more of a joyful and upbeat and sort of a stronger sound that allows there to be a little more energy in the set. And I liked to contrast that with Candide's Lament, which is a much more tragic piece. So that would sum up the first half. Lots of fun dynamic contrasts, lots of emotional contrasts, and I really tried to bring out both sides of my voice, both on the lighter, more heady end of my upper range, as well as a little bit more of my strength in the mid-range. As for the second half, we've got The Rising, 16 Tons, The Bidding, Winnebago Baby, and If I Were to Write This Song. I sang on The Rising, the end of The Bidding, and If I Were to Write This Song. And this was a really interesting time in the recital because it was both a sort of relief from the first half, which I was certainly nervous for, but it also presented a new challenge in the sense that it felt like a little bit more of a marathon. I had to make sure that I was keeping my vocal health throughout the entire set in order to sing that last song. So what I have here for you is The Rising at the beginning of that set, and sort of the reset both on the nerves and the vocal health. So that one's a little fun one. It's a big song for Madav because it's sort of this unofficial second alumni song for us. It started in the early 2010s and has sort of stuck as both a thank you to the composer Ross Michaels, who has contributed so much to the group, as well as a fun back to classes sort of check-in on how to basically learn with Madav even when we don't use the score directly. It's sort of like we have a score just as a backup, but we end up using like oral learning as the main way to teach this song, just to sort of show our bond and develop our bond with each other singing this song. And so I wanted to first establish that and then go into the pieces that I arranged because it seemed like a really good way to sort of establish that binding with the audience. And that's everything. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Nate. I'd like to invite Claire to the stage.
Hello. Hello, I'm Claire Campos, and I decided to do a vocal performance recital for my senior project, and I entitled it, "The Sun Will Keep on Shining, a Program of Love and Self-Discovery," and here are some of my notes on it. So I have 4 main points. The first being tackling my project. This is deciding what to do and how to accomplish it. My personal connection, so this is my personal connection with the repertoire and with bringing in my a cappella group at the end. The third is practicing. This is the triumphs and mistakes and issues of my process. And then 4 is performance, what I think went well and what could have been improved. So the first, deciding on a vocal performance recital. Singing has always been very important to me ever since I was a little girl, and my goal is to become a professional singer. So me and my vocal instructor, Evan Stenzel, decided that the senior recital would be the best thing for me for my senior project. I also decided to do it because I wanted to be able to sing on my own. I had never sang more than like 2 songs all by myself at one time. And so I wanted to be able to get into the groove of that, and this is a whole hour of just me. And I also wanted to work on my performance anxiety, because if I'm going to be a professional singer, I gotta work on that. My plan to accomplish this was me and my vocal instructor sat down and we made a practice plan and we set goals. And I planned with the concert hall a dress rehearsal and a performance date. And I had weekly rehearsals with Professor Iskowitz, my accompanist. I chose and decided my repertoire with my vocal instructor, and I decided I wanted to incorporate my a cappella group at the very end of it. So my personal connection. I have a personal connection with some of my accompanied repertoire, the first being Lori's song by Aaron Copland. So in this song, she's talking about leaving home and how hard it is and her worries about graduation and such. And I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, and I traveled all the way here for college, so I definitely resonate a lot with the leaving home and the worries of that. And also, graduation's in a week, so that is something I resonate with. I sang Everything I Know from In the Heights by Lin-Manuel Miranda. And in this song, she's talking about her grandma and how she is very, she's mourning her death, and she's talking about how she learned so much from her and how she just wants to make her proud. And I resonated a lot with this because 2 months ago, my grandmother died. And I feel the exact same way. She taught me everything I know. And I just thought this song was, meant a lot to me. The third one is For Good from Wicked by Stephen Schwartz. And this was a duet with one of my best friends, Avelina Revezo Weber. And in this song, Glinda and Alphaba are saying goodbye. And they basically are saying, we may have, not changed for the better, but we definitely changed for good. And I and Avelina have learned a lot from each other, and I just thought that was a good song for us. The fourth is Vienna by Billy Joel, and this was a duet with one of my best friends, Joey Best. And we couldn't I knew I wanted to sing a song with Joey Best, but I couldn't decide what I should do with him, and then I was like, oh, Vienna's such a beautiful song, and it's always resonated a lot with me, so I'll do that one. And I also think that we both have a personal connection to the song because it's hard being a musician. And it's very difficult because you're always in a different timeline than your peers with success and stuff like that. So it's just a great reminder to be kind to yourself. And so my connection with my a cappella song at the very end of my recital. So I have a great love for my a cappella group on a different note. I hope they know that. And I was a member for 3 years and a music director for 2 years. And I have taught them about 30 songs, and I've arranged about 15 of them. And we have this tradition called a senior solo. And I wanted my senior solo to be very personal, but I also wanted to be able to show off my voice. And I couldn't find a song for a very long time until I found Pluto by Jake Wesley Rogers. And I arranged it all myself. And this song means a lot to me because my name, Claire, means light. And in the song, he talks a lot about how bullying and self-doubt has really dimmed his light, and I really resonate with that. And that is also the reason that the recital is named The Sun Will Keep on Shining, because I resonate a lot with the sun. I just wanted to show that, yes, even through all of it, I have kept shining. So the third, practicing. So some of my triumphs in the practice process is me and my vocal instructor worked a lot on higher notes. I was taught for a very long time that I was an alto belter, and I learned that's not exactly true. And so I worked a lot on how to have more strength in my higher notes and my higher register. And then I also worked on the strength and longevity of my voice. Since I was a belter for so long, I would wonder why my voice would give out after like an hour to 30 minutes. And so we worked a lot on how to upkeep that. And so in the last 2 weeks of my practicing before my recital, I was running the recital twice a day, every day. Also, we worked on resonance instead of volume. I was used to pushing in order to be heard, but I learned a lot about how to use resonance to be heard and not hurt my voice and the longevity of it. I also worked a lot on different styles. It had pop repertoire, musical theater repertoire, and classical repertoire. So this really tested all of my tones and registers. This includes, chest voice, belting, mix, head voice, breathier tones, operatic tones. So I learned a lot through all of that. The mistakes and issues in my practice process is I unfortunately had a lot of mental and physical health issues this year, which provided really a lot of battles, but it's okay. It ended up in a lot of less time and focus on my recital, which ended up making me fail to upkeep my practice regimen that I had wanted to keep. This led to not enough time on memorization. And I wish there was more time because when you aren't fully memorized, it's really hard to bring stage presence. So, and if I do something like this again, which I plan on, I will definitely work a lot more on trying to keep up that regimen and memorization. And then the fourth is the performance. So what I think went well is I think I was really on track with what I was practicing with resonance and tone. And so then also recovery from my mistakes. I did make a few mistakes because everyone makes mistakes, and I feel like I recovered from them very well. Also, my Alec Wilder pieces, I sang Blackberry Winter and I Like It Here, and these have more of a jazzy tone, and I'm usually pretty good at a jazzy tone, so I felt like those went really well. Also, I sang What Good Would the Moon Be? This has a very big held out note at the end, a G5, and like I said before, not really used to singing higher notes, but I practiced a lot on it, and I ended up hitting it the way I wanted to, so I'm happy about that. And then also when I sang Lori's song, there was a lot of higher notes and like notes that scooped up into higher register, and those went well. And then also Come Down From This Tree from Once on This Island. This uses a tone and a register I don't usually use. It's like very mixy and like breathy and light. And it went really well, and it wasn't something I normally would have chosen for myself, so I was very happy with how that turned out. What I think needed to be improved is I have performance anxiety, unfortunately, and I think it definitely contributed to a lot of like what I think went wrong or so. But I did learn a lot from that. Also, it affected my memorization. I was supposed to be fully memorized for the senior recital. Unfortunately, I was not able to get there. I think I probably could have, but my stage anxiety really affects my memorization. I tend to forget a lot once I get on stage. And this also affected my stage presence. Also, I need to work on my comfortability with my higher register, and that just comes from experience. Just got to keep practicing. Also, my confidence in myself, because clearly I don't have enough confidence in myself, but I'm getting better at that. So overall, what I learned was practice discipline. I learned that I should have practiced probably earlier and more often. And also, I learned how to, like my memorization struggle, and I learned a lot of tips and tricks on how to get better with that. My performance anxiety, I learned a lot about how to calm myself down, and I'm still learning about that. And also to be kind to myself, because I did it. It was a whole hour of just me singing, and I did it. So I'm very happy about that. So, and I am very proud of what I did. So I would like to say that. So thank you. I will now invite up, on a different note, my a cappella group to sing Pluto with me.
gotta try. Oh.
We have a tradition we have started that graduating seniors get a cord from us from graduation, and it's purple. So we very quickly just wanted to present that up there.
Thank you. I now would like to invite Zhao Yi to the stage.
Hi everyone, my name is Zhao Yiyue. I'm a composer of the instrumental music and the electronic music. My topic of the project, Capstone project, is to harmonize colors and music through Kandinsky's Improvisation 28, this painting. And I composed a piece for this painting. The goal of the project is to show my composing skills. And before we talk about the Kandinsky and his painting, I would like to talk about the synesthesia. When we say the synesthesia, we are really talking about a magical sensor experience. In synesthesia, one sense activates another one. Like there is a magical bond between them. Imagine that when you hear music, you might see colors. And when you see numbers, you might feel like tasting flavors. And this sensor crossover may come in like all sort of forms. But the key is that their sensation are between different sense. Like for person with synesthesia, the sensor crossover come naturally. It's not from imagination. Their brain connects sensor experience in a very unique way, and which makes their world like more colorful. And now, Kandinsky. He is one with synesthesia. Kandinsky was a Russian painter and art theorist. His avant-garde artworks clashed with the mainstream realism of the time. At the same time, he was a music lover. He created a very famous painting series, compositions and improvisations, through the feeling and the colors that music gave him. The painting now on display is Improvisation 28. The painting in this sense, in this series are very abstract and colorful, and each color and shape has a unique meaning. Like you can see, the overall painting is a reflection on war and religion. In the upper right of the painting, you can see there is the sun and a building in the shape of a church on a hill. The main color of this section are red, yellow, green, and dark blues. Like for Kandinsky, dark greens and dark blues can be representative of very low sounds like cello or like lower woodwinds. The red and yellow are like brighter sounds. In the lower left of the painting, you can see there's a irregular shape that can be considered to be the Great Flood of the Old Testament in the Bible. And on the hillside to the right of the flood, there are many horses. You can see many arcs there. And associated with the flood, these horses can be considered to be the four horsemen from the apocalypse. As for why the flood and horses are there, I think it is because of the war. In the upper left part of the painting is a battlefield full of smoke. The yellow and red area on the far left, it is very much like the firing cannon. And the gray area looks like the smoke on the battlefield. And there are general speaking about the painting. Next, I want to talk about my piece. I composed the piece based on my feeling about the painting. I used the flute, I used piano and the string quartet. I created some different melodic parts that corresponded to the main areas of the painting. In this piece, I also show as much as I can of the techniques that I learned drawing my time I drew. So I hope you like it. Yeah, thank you very much for listening to my piece. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'd like to invite Joey to the stage.
No, I'm showing an example. That's all. Oh, this was it. Nice. Yeah, cool. Gonna zoom in. That was not zooming in. Well, that works. Hi, everyone. My name is Joey Best. So on April 14th of this year, I presented my senior project that I titled Our Stories. I would call it a recital, but I don't think that's appropriate in this case. It was a very interesting little story, and I would just like to talk to you guys and describe my process in making it from multiple different ways. So I hope you enjoy. So the first question that I had, obviously, was what exactly was it? If it's not a recital, what exactly would I call it? On my program, I had titled it An Original Story Featuring Timeless and New Works with Friends and Loved Ones. What does that mean? There's the whole idea of, yeah, like that's the basic presentation, but to me, this story was much more a reflection of my time at Drew here and now from every point that I've had. When Dr. Weston was saying that the Capstone projects should be about what you and reflection of you at school, I knew that with my jumping into music, my ideas in political science, my huge involvement into theater, that I couldn't just figure out one thing to do. I couldn't just do a classical recital piece, and I couldn't just do a theater show, and I definitely could not just do a dissertation on something political science-wise. So I wanted to combine it into one. That was my goal, is to present every facet of myself. But as I was making this project, something else about it grew. And we'll get to what that was soon. So I just want to show you how my sort of experience here at Drew, sort of from the classroom section and to the extracurriculars, sort of influenced this project and how it all came together. So the first one that I'll be tackling, it is out of order, but the first one I'll be tackling is my musical education, so courseworks here, and how that influenced my senior project. Then we have my theater education, so how exactly I crafted the story together and put everything together, writing this narrative with it. And at the end, a liberal arts education, so something that wasn't just one thing, or I wouldn't consider as one element, but a sort of an entire encompassing thing as my time at Drew. So to begin a lot of this piece, instead of just doing, as I said, with timeless works, there's a lot of original works. A lot of my education here at Drew has been very specifically understanding sort of musical compositions of the past, and also teaching you ways of how to put it into your own work. So there's many different courses that I found compositions in. The first class that I ever took before music theory was actually techniques of 20th and 21st century composers. So immediately I'm not learning traditional voice leading that we understand. I went straight into the deep end without knowing anything. Lovely. Recommend it. The next, outside of just doing some more of compositional work, I also took a lot of music history at classes to understand where these practices came out. What cultural connections do they have? What does it have with the ties with the people of its time? What were these pieces at that period of time? And it was taught by Dr. Leslie Sprout, both the music of the classical and romantic, as well as 20th and 21st century. When I eventually did do music theory, it was all about learning just the basics, the structures of Western classical and Baroque styles, but also learning more decorative instruments that necessarily don't follow rules, but are about to emphasize your taste and what you are finding interesting. So I learned rules and then other techniques that helped me. There's musical composition course, which followed the same sort of thing, and outside, to continue the cultural context, I had African American music history. So how exactly do all of those work for this story? Well, a lot of my classical phrasing had existed in my piece for a string quartet that I played, which I used as I was demonstrating a video on this exact screen. This on the top over here, I don't have a musical example of it, but a lot of it has to do with traditional voice leadings and how exactly these four parts work together. I originally wrote this theme back in 2020 with just on a keyboard, just playing it out, not really knowing what it was going to be, and eventually with my education of understanding four-part harmonies and structures, I was able to turn it into what it is now. Another sort of voice leading, specifically with voice leading, that was a very big thing in music theory, of just how exactly certain parts are supposed to go, what are the ranges, what are the proper ways to do it. One of the ways I incorporated it was in my overture piece, which also played, which is a four-part vocal part that's right there. Hard to see, but it follows most of the specific voice leadings that I learned in my time in class, as well as more contemporary works. The 20th and 21st century was like, here's the rules, but how exactly can we move away from it? So a lot of these song titles are original ones that I've written. So I have a song called Frozen, which is the example here of a three-part vocal structure, which follows a lot of chromatic mediant movements, so not exact, which is part of the tradition, but sometimes is much more just unique. There was other more rock songs called Light the Flames and Another Day. And near the end of my time at music of the 20th and 21st century, we got to very experimental sound. So how does technology, recording technology affect sort of things? And minimalism, how does that incorporate itself into music? So I included one that had a more synth sound to it with a vocal track on reverb as much more technological influences. I knew exactly that was going to happen and didn't warn you. So for this project, there are some examples. Oh, that's not working the way I wanted to. Oh, no. Don't worry. Sorry, Maddie. We'll get there. Okay, so I'm going to show some of the examples as best as I can. I lost where I was. The first one that I have to do is something called A sharp in Heartbeat and the Stories We Tell. Those were two pieces that I wrote, and I wanted to show you what exactly this chord was. On the top, if you can't read it, it says musical leitmotifs. That is what got me interested in music before I ever studied it, and that entirely had to deal with how the definition of it is it's a musical idea that has a sort of thematic purpose that translates over a story. That's the basic rough draft of what it means, but if you use it in interesting ways, it can actually service it into the story. So this one song that I have called Heartbeat is sort of the emotional climax of the story. This narrator, this writer, is revealing his inner secrets, his sort of deep understanding of himself. The progression of which it went to this sort of sound goes to a minor chord right here, and continuing it is like trumpet, doesn't know where it's going sort of idea. And when it returns later in the final piece, which is much more about like you got to an acceptance, the writer understands where they are, they've accepted who they are, the same chord appears, starts in minor this time, same chord, but goes into a more warming location, and its progression is much more stable, much more realized. The other example that I had is how that final piece opens. I'm going to see if this works. And I don't believe it is. We're going to see. This sort of sound is a theme that played throughout the story. And it has a sort of mystical element to it as well. And how at the ending, the opening of that ending song starts in that exact same way. The two big themes that I wanted to focus on, one of them is known as the hero theme and Lydia. In my story, I introduced a character who comes from more of an unknown area and has this theme that's like light. A very light, wistful, very innocent sort of style. Contrast that with a different theme that opens the entire show, which I've called sort of a hero theme. Very Lord of the Rings-esque. Heroic, and if it's played slowly, you can hear it. I'm going to hope these work, and let's see. So here's how it opens. Here's its more You got the idea, went before it went. And the last theme is, I will play, I think the video is not going to necessarily work, but this last sort of part of the story is the character of Lydia gets captured, in this sense. And it opens with a very orchestral version in brass of the same theme. And brass is mostly associated with this strong power kingdom vibe, and it's in the story indicates that she was actually captured and now is in the presence, she's in the kingdom. And later in that piece, it's underlaid with the sound of this hero theme that went from this more heroic stance, but now the hero theme has been transformed into something more ugly, something that we don't like, and is much more underlaid with that theme, created this very attacking and meshing thing. And what I wanted to do with this hero theme is present it as a way of starting like it's strong, starting like we believe it, and as the story moves forward, it actually becomes more of the villain itself. And I wanted to turn that idea of heroism, soldier, king, which is presented well in the beginning, to much more as destructive. I wanted to see how musically we could also get there too. Apologize that the clips are not working the way I wanted them to. Outside of musical training, I've also had vocal training. I had private studios with Professor Evan Stenzel. We did a lot of work both with 3 different pieces, and this is the classical side. We have Nella Guerra di Amore by Mozart, which is in Italian, Andi Musik by Schubert, which was in German, and Lydia by Fauré in French. All different things, and I want to just explore different elements, different languages that I never understood, and also different styles of opera. I've never sang opera before, and this was part of it. Outside of that, I also worked with the piano accompanist, Professor David Iskowitz, on many different rehearsals, so it was training in that regard. And outside of the classical material, we also did much more contemporary work. We practiced Jesus Christ Superstar by Andrew Lloyd Webber, and also Indigo Girls by Kid Fears by Indigo Girls. That's the right order. So that's sort of my musical side, but I also wanted to show some of my theater side and how that went into here. In junior year, I was attending a program called the New York Semester of Theater, which taught us to just sort of structure stories in a different way. When we think of stories, we think of them as scripts, and then it becomes like, then we get the team who hires it, and the cast, and then we get set designers, and we have rehearsals, and it goes in this sort of hierarchy, but it always starts with a story. And in this New York semester, we worked with a company called Tectonic Theater Project, who made the Laramie Project, and they taught us that maybe it's not exactly a hierarchy, but everything exists together, equally, on one plane. And all stories and every aspect of theater influences things. So if you have a design element, it influences the story, which can influence the music, which can influence the character, and it all changes. It's ever-changing. That is the point of what was called devised theater. And part of my education here, when I was making this story, was as I was growing as an artist and also as a human being, the idea of what I wanted this story to mean and present was constantly changing. And it was never set idea. The only thing that I had ever set was I heard of one instrumental piece that I was in love with and wanted to perform on stage. And I was like, I hope I can get the rights and be conducting it, and it would be great. I didn't do that. I gave up on that. That was not part of the story. And as I grew, everything that came here was a surprise. And part of outside the theater and devising element, there's a lot of administration that comes in working with people. I worked with a couple of singers, a couple of my friends, a handful of all the a cappella members. I worked with some instrumentalists and different other vocalists. So you can imagine all trying to put this together, especially at the end, is complicated. So these are some of the examples of the administrative work that I've had. I studied a lot of being a music director in many shows on campus. There's a lot of administrative work that you have to be good at in the off rehearsal, so good at vocal tracking, making sure everyone's coming in on time. So I had a lot of experience with that side, a lot of the behind-the-scenes scheduling for rehearsals. As you can see, these are the dates that were available with certain groups. On the top left is all a cappella members, what voice parts they are, and what times they can make it. There was also voice tracking of which song they were in, so I could move things around. Outside of this, there was also, as you hopefully saw, there was a lot of camera work and film sequences that happened in the story, and so a lot of my behind the scenes had to work with making shot lists and making sure I can get locations in time, and work with the cameraman, shout out Morgan Mandal for filming, to actually be able to construct all of this. A lot of it was busy work on the computer, making sure I could coordinate. And lastly was coordinating tech stuff with the concert hall, with guitars, pianos, a cappella members, an active band, synthesizers, pedals and everything, and also a projector, there was a big day at Tech with the concert hall. So part of that had to plan out how to go about it, who to call in at what times, and how we can be just on top of everything and move as quickly as possible. To put everything together outside of the more liberal arts area, one of the big things that I emphasized and learning from this was being able to be a leader in this stuff, because this was my project that I shot to have over 26 musicians in and work with tech and different actors for filming stuff, and I always wanted to make sure I was helping as much as I could. So a lot of leadership was taught. I began it in my a cappella group called All the Above as music director, which has served for 2 years. And that sort of shined in the element of working with not just my a cappella group, but all people. I love every single group here, and I would love to I had this idea of putting them all together and seeing what it could sound like, which I was able to do with my pieces Icarus and May It Be. I was a music director for theater for a couple shows in rehearsal, so a lot of that has to deal with not just actors and giving notes and stuff, but also dealing with instrumentalists and the band at the same time. One of my band members is actually here. Hi, Joey. Thank you. And so songs like that came with Superstar, Jesus Christ Superstar, Frozen, which is another original one, Light the Flames, Another Day, which were more rock-heavy songs, and Kid Fears. There was also, for every time I was in rehearsal, there was music director of theater off rehearsal. So that had to be, as I talked about before, what's it like coordinating with tech? What is it coordinating administrative-wise? Every time is equal amount on stage of working with actors as off stage of planning, talking, and making sure you can schedule everything correctly. And because it was an original story that I was writing constantly, a lot of my understanding of what it meant to tell a story came from my playwriting courses and serving sometimes as a director to understand stories before in things like theater. So a lot of this coming together, I had to move the ship, and it was a lot of multiple different leadership elements that I've done before but wanted to put together for one little show. Let's see. One of the other big things was instrumentation here. I wasn't just singing the entire time, and I wasn't just having other people sing my stuff. I was also playing instruments on their own. So I played guitar in a pit for a chorus line, as well as the Percy Jackson musical, 2 musicals that the theater department put on here this year, and I really wanted to incorporate some elements, so I played for Superstar. I did with Kid Fears with my best friend, Claire Campos, and I also played for my original song, Frozen, as well. Not just guitar, but I've also done piano as well, as you can see in the top left for that piece called Heartbeat. I played for a couple times there, and that's all in the theater department. I mostly did that work, but in here in the music department, I had mentoring from both Professor Mitch Stein, who taught me a lot of guitar and jazz scales, and also Professor David Iskowitz in our keyboard studies class, which helped me do a lot of understanding the piano and how exactly to play it efficiently and healthy, because I was playing it for about a 5-minute song and I didn't want to cramp. So I appreciate all the teaching that he was able to give. Finally is musical arrangements. A lot of my time here has been doing musical arrangements, and so outside of the original works, there was also a lot of actual work that I had done. In a cappella, once again, the first time I ever did an arrangement was for a song called I Found, that's my first one. And in theater, I had to do a lot of on-the-spot arrangement work for, like if I had to transpose a part for a different singer, or I also was in charge for chorus lines making their bows so all the singers and performers could bow. So a lot of my stuff is on-the-spot arrangements. And of course, because I was doing a lot of that for about 2 years, I absolutely wanted to incorporate it here. Icarus / Things We Lost in the Fire was a mashup between 2 Bastille songs that I performed with a lot of a cappella people who I see here now. Thank you, guys. So a lot of the difference between the first arrangement, which is kind of easier movement stuff, not exactly a lot of dynamic markings, like I just put notes on the page and the computer plays it for me. Now in this one, there's a lot more specific intentions. There's a phrasing, there's accidentals, there's how exactly to sing it, there's what sort of styles. And a lot of that work out of arrangements and putting it together not only was from a cappella, but a lot of my musical time here of understanding more compositional works. And last one, of course, when it came to Superstar, I did not want to pay for the rights to use that song, so I did it. And by ear, I was listening for some of the songs and actually put it together. And from my arrangements, from the composition work, it was the biggest task that I had of, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to listen to this, understand the voice parts, and go for it. And eventually, it came out the way that it did. That was the hardest one to do, so I'm really glad it went well. So, what was our stories? When Professor Weston said that it was supposed to be about you, I didn't exactly know what that was supposed to be. I had an idea, but the story of all of this, the original narrative, took 2 years for this. And it wasn't exactly like I immediately knew everything I was doing, but I counted every single day that I was here understanding and learning as an artist, taking different courses and understanding things. That was my writing of it. This was everlasting, and it was absolutely not what I expected. None of the material that I originally wanted to tell was there. I didn't know that I wanted to have film sequences, and eventually I wrote a story where a writer was filming sequences about a fantasy movie. I didn't know that I was going to have conversations about toxic masculinity and my personal struggles of understanding who I was. But from taking a lot of political science courses and understanding the world of culture, like how culture and politics work with themselves, as well as my own understanding of who I am as I keep growing older, was not anything I expected, but it was me. And it was what I wanted to do. And so I wrote monologues relating to my own personal struggles that would tie in with songs. And the biggest difficulty was just, how do I write all of this into the narrative? How do I express all of that here? But I knew that as I was growing, the story was growing with me. And that was what kept making me go with this, is as I was growing, I knew that I was understanding this more and more, which is why I named it Our Stories, because it's a never-ending one. And I wanted to relate it as something that was me and something that I knew as I grew older. And so that's the title of what it was. I really hope I get to continue the project because it means a lot to me, and I hope I can expand and make more elements and find out what 24, 25, 26, 35-year-old Joey will add into this and what other elements of the story can grow. Yeah, and so one of the important things with writing with a narrative was trusting the process, and it was going the way that it was meant to go. There was once a technical difficulty here, and all I had to say was, it's going to go the way that it was meant to go. And I've been saying that for at least 2 years, ever since I was writing this project for the first time. And it went the way that it did. And it was my story, and it's the story that I will continue to be telling after this. So I know that wasn't the clearest answer, but that was the point of my project, and I really thank you guys for listening. So thank you again. Can I just leave it up? Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'd like to invite Maddie to the stage.
Hello, everybody. Let's see. My name is Maddie Ortiz, and I'm a musician, I'm an artist, and I'm an educator. And for my capstone project, I composed a piece. And to start off my presentation, I'm going to be inviting members of the Drew University Chorale to come and perform the piece that I conducted. We'll do that one at the end. I'll do this first, I guess. choir teacher, and I still do see myself doing that. I figured learning how to conduct a choir is a good first step if I want to be a choir director. Studying music at Drew allowed me to study music in a variety of ways, from taking music history courses to music theory to studying voice and piano, and of course being in ensembles. I have a well-rounded music education. And I actually never saw myself composing music, but some of my favorite courses here at Drew have been my music theory and music composition courses. So I wanted to try to combine almost everything I've learned through the Drew Music Department into one capstone project. So I composed an a cappella chorale piece and taught it to the Drew Chorale. And to tie it into my studio art major piece and taught it to the Drew Chorale. And to tie it into my studio art major, I made some artworks to go along with it. I ended up making a lot of artwork about Portugal, and that is where my family is from. And I went on a recent trip to Portugal that was a lot of inspiration to me. My heritage started to become more important to me after my grandfather passed away during my junior year of high school. And it was really hard for me. But now I'm creating beautiful art about something that's so important to me and my family. And the first step of this whole entire project was to get some ideas about what the music would sound like. I started writing chords and melodies at home over winter break, and I honestly had no idea where to begin. This is my first time writing music without any instructions or requirements, and I'm big on directions and rules. So I started the same way I would have started if I was in music theory class. I had Roman numeral analysis and everything, but then when I went to Dr. Weston to talk about my piece, he said, stop, just do what you want to do. Just sit at the piano and start playing. So I rerouted, and I was really experimental when writing this piece. I knew I wanted it to have some beautiful chords and interesting harmonies. And this is just a picture, tough. This is just the score here. It's about like 5 pages long. I probably took the first half of this semester to compose the piece and just perfect it to my liking. So next I needed lyrics for the piece, and I'm not a writer. So I asked my lovely friend Patricia, and Patricia's actually my first friend who's also Portuguese. And growing up, it felt so weird that no one else in my elementary school was Portuguese. So when I met Patricia, it was really special. We bond over our Portuguese families and the culture, and when I figured out I wanted to write a chorale piece about Portugal, I immediately asked her to help me write the lyrics. And so I asked her to write a poem, and I gave her some keywords when writing the poem. I asked her to write about Portuguese culture and family, and the words I gave her were olive trees, Vila Suedo, and pai. And pai means dad in Portuguese, and that's what my entire family called my grandpa. And Vila Suedo is the small village where my entire family is from. And once I had the lyrics, I started adding them to the melodies that I wrote over break. I changed some stuff around until I felt like it fit, and I was making music in a similar way that I make art, and I kind of just let what happens guide the process. So the next part was conducting and teaching. I needed to teach it to people so I could hear it performed live, because it's very different when you're writing it on one of those programs online. And I have some experience teaching kids, and actually a week after I graduate with my majors in music and studio art, I'll be continuing my studies at Drew University's Capstone Graduate School to receive my master's in teaching. And I plan to get certified to teach K-12 music and K-12 art, so it's really important to me to have some teaching experience. And this was the first time I was teaching someone over the age of 14, and honestly, that was terrifying. I get along with the little kids a bit better, but I was lucky enough to be able to take the new conducting course offered by Professor Michael, and that really helped me learn how to conduct and getting to try it in our classroom and on stage. And as an aspiring music teacher, I hope to continue conducting music and learning, because it's actually really hard. It's very scary, it's very challenging to stand up and be in charge of the whole choir. And it was really new to me, but I really enjoyed what I learned, and I just hope to continue to learn more. So next, I'm going to talk about the art on the stage. I have 3 paintings and a ceramic sculpture. And I was actually a musician before I was a visual artist. I've been studying music and singing in choirs since elementary school. And when I first went to Drew, I took one drawing class and immediately fell in love, so I decided to double major. For the most part, I kept my music and art very separate from one another. However, my double capstone projects, I wanted to combine the both of them. Plus, my music professors and my art professors really wanted me to try to combine both music and art. And I actually recently read an article that connected each element of music to each element of art, and it really resonated me as both a musician and an artist. And after reading these articles, the idea stuck in my mind, and I started to think about musical elements while I was painting. I would think about rhythm, phrase, melody, all in conversation with the way a painting is created. I was thinking and learning about this when I was creating this big painting all the way to the left, Homage to the Olive Tree. And this is the painting that specifically connects with my choir piece. And if I were to describe this specific painting in musical terms, I immediately think about melody and rhythm. Melody acts as the line, which we see in the pathway on the mountains. The rhythm is seen in the same brushstrokes throughout different places of the painting. There are even accents with the placement of big trees at the bottom of the painting. And we can think about musical phrases in the 3 tiers of the painting. I'll use my cursor. So there's like one tier here, another here, and then at the top. And you can also check out more art in the Senior Studio exhibition. And these are some other paintings that were just too big to bring onto the stage today that I think resonate with my connection between music and visual art. One thing I was going to read. This is from my artist statement. Visually, my work is an orchestration of color and shapes. I utilize texture to create an exciting expression. Light is utilized to bring in the viewer. I also think about my visual art musically. The lines in my paintings are like melodies in music. A sense of rhythm is created with intentional marks and patterns. I collage different marks throughout my paintings to create a cohesive style. So that is how I combined music, studio art, and teaching all into one capstone project. I've really loved my time studying music at Drew, and I'm really gonna miss it. And that's all I have for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Another round of applause for all of the seniors. Great job. I think an important step is figuring out that truly representing who you are is difficult and also the most rewarding. So I applaud all of you for doing that and starting that journey. We have just some light refreshments in room 111, which is directly that way. The best way to get there when you walk out of the concert hall is to make 2 rights and then a left. And I hope to see you there. Thank you so much for coming. And thanks again, seniors. Had a fun time. And I learned a lot about you, even though I thought I knew you. I learned a lot tonight. So thanks so much. Anyway, have a great night. Picture. Let's take a picture. Also, chorale and On a Different Note singers who are still here, thanks so much. Thank you, Concert Hall. Thank you, Concert Hall. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Ethan.
got it.